Check 1, 2.
Go! Curious about real estate? Yes! Then you've come to the right place. Get the knowledge you need. Get over the fear and get started. This is the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show with your host, Michael Quarles.
Hello, everybody. Michael Quarles with the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show. Today, I have Chris Dunn with me, and Chris is an amazing individual. He is an investor. He's been in the stock market. He's an angel investor. He had one of the strangest jobs anybody's ever had in life, and I'll let him tell you that. He's a traveler, been to 100 countries. We're just going to have a great conversation talking about a lot of stuff. So, Chris, welcome to the show. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm a real estate investor, day trader, angel investor, just anything investing or entrepreneurial is basically crack for me. I mean, that's what I wake up excited about and what I try to spend all my time doing when I'm not traveling.
Tell me about the real estate part of what you do.
Well, right now I'm investing in Central Texas, have a couple flips going, moving into multifamily. I do private lending to some wholesalers and rehabbers. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I really like kind of third tier markets here in Texas. I live in Austin and I invest mostly within an hour and a half range outside of Austin.
What do you mean by third tier markets?
Just smaller, kind of smaller towns. The numbers in a city like Austin, you might know, I mean, Austin's been one of the fastest growing cities of the decade and of the last several years. And that's just really caused, I wouldn't call it a bubble because we've had the population growth to sustain it. There's not like just insane speculation, but prices have gone up considerably. And, particularly in the multifamily space, like you can't get cap rates above 5 or 6% right now. I mean, prices are just too high. So what I like to do is go about anywhere from a half hour to 90 minutes outside of Austin, and you have smaller towns that have some decent population, but they haven't had the growth and the price appreciation that we've seen here in Austin.
So you can still get your cap rate up there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you get good cap rates. You can find like blue collar neighborhoods where the numbers for flips make sense. For example, I'm getting ready to put one on the market that we got for, it's in a beautiful area of a historic district. We got it for $40,000 or $45,000, put about 40 into it, and we're going to sell it for $160 on owner financing. You just can't find that type of deal in Austin. I mean, the same house would be $500,000 or more.
Right. It's crazy. In 2 hours away from Bakersfield, California is Los Angeles. And my house in LA would be several $1 million. And I'm thinking, man, I'm so glad I live in Bakersfield.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. How do you find your properties that you buy? Or do you go through a realtor?
So I actually have a couple partners that are kind of the boots on the ground. I'm more of the money and marketing guy. The partner that I have on this house, for example, he gets a lot of deal flow. He has bird dogs. He's a very experienced wholesaler. He's done, I think, over 600 transactions. So I like to partner with guys and ladies that know the real estate markets that they're in better than I do. And I just kind of provide the financing and marketing and kind of move the process along.
Make your money work for you.
Exactly.
Kind of concept. Now, this has to be strange is the wrong word, I'm sure. Am I reading this right? You were a dancing ice cream cone at one point in your life?
Yeah, when I was 15, my first job was I was a dancing ice cream cone.
Is that a girl magnet or what?
Oh, yeah, man. It was funny because I swear I actually invited girls to come see me because I didn't care. I was like, look, I'm making money. I got minimum wage, $5.15 an hour. I felt like a big shot. But then I realized, I'm like, man, this sucks. I'm sweaty. I'm hot. I'm really not making a lot of money. Let's go find something else. Yeah.
So how did you go from that to where you're at today?
Okay. So I'll try to make a long story short. So I got suspended in high school. I got in trouble for doing something, God knows what, and was forced to sit in a classroom and not talk to anybody for a week. Came across the Rich Dad books, started reading entrepreneurial stuff and was just on fire. Like I was really, really into it. And so I just started learning as much as I could about entrepreneurship and said, well, let me go start a company. So I started a car detailing company, hired a bunch of my friends. We ended up landing some pretty big accounts of fleets of cars, and we were pulling in a few $1,000s cash every weekend and after school. And so I was doing really well. And one day, we would go into these shopping centers where there were office parks and storefronts, and we would just say, hey, anybody in here want to get their car detailed? And we went to a mortgage company. This was during the refi boom. I think it was like 2001. And there was probably 100 or 150 loan officers in this boiler room type office, just big open floor plan. And the owner of the company came out and said, what are you doing? You're detailing cars. Why don't you work for me? And I was like, what are you talking about? He said, well, you can run your business. I'll give you a desk. You can run your business, but, basically just be my kind of do boy, do what I need to, detail my car, run errands. And he's like, I'll mentor you. I'll teach you finance. I'll teach you real estate. So I said, fair trade. So learn the mortgage business. When I was 18 or 19, I sold the detailing company to my partner and went in full time into the mortgage business, and then moved into the home builder side of that, of financing, and then started doing my own investing, got into the stock market, quit the mortgage industry, traded full time for many, many years. And now I just do whatever makes money on any given day. So
here I am. I'm envisioning a dancing ice cream cone. I'm really not envisioning it. It's hard to imagine. And then you went in the mortgage business, and then you went into the mortgage business inside of track houses or builder housing, yep. And then into the stock market. That seems like a big jump from real estate to the stock market.
Yeah, it was actually kind of interesting. When I was working at the mortgage company, one of the guys he had some stock charts up, and I said, what are you doing? And he said, well, I'm trading, sit down and I'll show you what's up. And he made a couple of grand in less than a half hour. And I was like, I don't know what you're doing, but I want to do that. So I opened an account and I lost $5,000 in like 2 weeks. And I'm really stubborn and I can't accept defeat. So I spent the next several years just studying everything that I could about the stock market, and took me several years to really figure out what the hell I was doing and how to make it work.
Yeah. In the real estate business, I had someone that we were very close, and he was doing pushes and calls, I think, or something like that. And it looks so foreign to me that I haven't even jumped into the stock market.
Yeah, it's a world of its own, man. It's a beast.
Because I'm afraid that I'd lose all my money, and I'm not a gambler, so I like as certain of things as I can have. And real estate seems to be really certain for me. For some people, it might not be, but for me, it seemed to be a better place to put my resource.
Yeah, it's great to have something that actually backs your investment, that isn't going to get up and fly away or become irrelevant because of new technology, right? Like housing is always going to be there. Right.
You can lose some of it, but it's hard to lose all of it.
Well said.
No, it's been fun. And then you got into Bitcoin. Is that what I understand?
Yeah. So I can't even believe that I'm now like an advocate for Bitcoin. I first heard of it in 2011, and I said, no, this is a scam. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's a pump and dump. It's like a penny stock. I don't know what it is, but it's going away. And then 2 years later in 2013, I noticed that it wasn't going away. In fact, I looked at the stats on user adoption and how many people were using it, and I was actually blown away. And so I spent about 6 months just learning everything I could. I totally geeked out on cryptocurrencies and said, okay, this is actually something real. This isn't going away. It's not a fad. It's not, the government's not going to ban it. In fact, they're kind of embracing it because they know they can't push it away. Granted, it's going to have a very bumpy road to mass user adoption, but I'm a fan. And so I started trading it, started investing in it, started looking at, the entrepreneurial opportunities in it. And fast forward a couple of years, user adoption is still increasing. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening. The media loves to hate Bitcoin, though. I mean, it makes for some really, really juicy headlines of bad things.
For those of us who don't know it as well as you do, explain Bitcoin to the novice. What is it?
Bitcoin is a digital currency. So it's like cash on the internet that's not controlled by any one government. If anybody knows what torrents are, like BitTorrents, it's a peer-to-peer network. So it's kind of like a currency without a Fed, right? Without the FOMC, without somebody controlling money supply and interest rates. It's a math-based currency. So it was created in 2009. And when it was created, the anonymous person that put this out into the world made it open source. So anybody can look at the code, and it's kind of like being able to audit the Fed and saying, how do you make your decisions? And instead of placing your faith in a person to make the right decisions, you're putting your faith in math and in code. And so a lot of people say, well, is Bitcoin safe? Can it be hacked? Bitcoin itself can't be hacked. If it could be hacked, it would have already been hacked because there's a multi-billion-dollar pie at stake. What can be hacked, and what a lot of people see in the media, is the exchanges where people put their Bitcoin, where they put their value, and they trust a third party. It's kind of like, if you give your gold to a vault and they steal your gold, right? But gold itself can't be hacked. So it's like it's a math-based currency that's not controlled by any government.
And why is it useful to the consumer over a government-controlled currency?
Sure. There's several benefits. The biggest one being that it gives the unbanked of the world. So there's several billion people that don't have access to basic banking services like credit cards, checking accounts, access to cash. And so it gives everyone around the world access to money, to currency. It also makes international remittances fast and inexpensive. So you can send millions of dollars around the world pretty much instantaneously for next to free, for just a few pennies. And where it's really helpful is in countries like Argentina or Greece, or these areas that have currency crises like hyperinflation or government controls. And it's putting companies like Western Union completely out of business and making them irrelevant. It's very expensive for people that work in a different country, who send money back to their family in their home country. You have to pay somewhere around 10% usually to Western Union or to a third party service, where Bitcoin, you can do it instantly for free.
Yeah. And that 10% is almost like 10 points. So it's an instant interest rate that if they compound it.
Yeah. And there are billions and billions of dollars lost every year from low income people that need that money to these companies that are just ripping people off. So Bitcoin has really disrupted that space.
So can I go down and buy a gallon of milk with my Bitcoin?
So that's the challenge, and the rocky road ahead for Bitcoin is user adoption in the States, because in the States we have a relatively, I use this term lightly, trusted system, right? With people trust the US dollar. Right now it's the reserve currency of the world. And we don't really have a need. People trust their credit cards. So most people in the States still use US dollars to buy and sell stuff. But there are several thousand companies now that are accepting Bitcoin. And they have debit cards where you can actually use Bitcoin anywhere. So you can pay with Bitcoin through like a Visa debit card. And it gets transferred into US dollars. So the short answer is yes, you can spend Bitcoin anywhere you want now. It just gets transferred into US dollars for the companies that want dollars over Bitcoin.
Gotcha. And way back in the day, so I'm old enough that I can actually say way back in the day, we had the barter system, and it almost seems as though it's a little bit like, where we would trade things like, I have a car and you have a bike and you have like vegetables, and somehow through all those trading, I could take my car and buy your vegetables. similar or different?
Well, it takes money back to its roots. Bitcoin has all of the properties of money. It's divisible, it's fungible. All of the basic concepts of what money should be, it has. And that's why people like it and trust it and use it. It puts the control back in the hands of people and takes it really out of the control of like the Fed or people that try to control the money supply.
And I think the computer age or the digital age is really, we're pushing ourselves there, and so, which is probably in why it was created in 2009. And you said it was an anonymous person who created it. Is that because they were afraid to tell people who they were?
Exactly. So the name of the person was Satoshi Nakamoto. That's just a username. Nobody really knows who it is. There have been several journalists that have written articles claiming that they found who Satoshi Nakamoto is, but every time it's been debunked. Like nobody really knows.
Oh, interesting. I would hope that I wouldn't create something that I couldn't brag about, but maybe if it was something so special that it would be dangerous for me to brag about it, I would take the other side of that fence.
Well, I don't feel too bad for him because whoever that person is worth several $100 million. So they're very
I don't feel bad for him at all. He's right there with me, or she's right there with me.
Yeah.
You indicated earlier that in your real estate business, or what you like to do is be the money behind it. Can you talk about that, or is that a subject that you don't like talking about? Or
no, absolutely, please. I have no reservations about talking about money.
Okay, so if I'm a guy or a gal out there in Texas and I find a really great deal, but I can't finance it, are you the kind of person I would go to, or do you already have your boots on the ground that are looking for deals for you already?
Yeah, I mean, I work with several wholesalers and rehabbers. What I love about real estate is how personal it is. It's a very tangible. It's it's a personal business. So I like working with people that I like and trust, and that I know have a track record. So if
wait a second. Those should not be the qualifications of someone you work with. You like and you trust them?
Exactly, right? Crazy concept, I know.
It's not even American.
But when it comes to that, like I want to see somebody with a track record and that knows what a good deal is, right? I love talking to people that are new in real estate and learning the game. But I prefer to lend to people that have done several successful deals already.
Now, when you talk about lending, are you joint venture partnering with them, or actually just loaning them money against the tangible asset?
Both. Okay. I partner on a lot of deals, and I just act as a lender on some deals.
Are you an angel investor as well?
Yeah. So here in Austin, Texas, we are trying to become kind of a tech hub. We're not nearly as big as San Francisco or Boston or New York, but there's definitely an entrepreneurial spirit, and there's some VC firms here in Austin, and I'm part of a couple of angel investing networks, which is basically a group of anywhere from a couple dozen to a couple hundred angel investors that look to invest in early stage tech startups. So I got into that space just a couple of years ago. And like I said, I mean, the entrepreneurial spirit here in Austin is really interesting, and I love to be around that. So I'm still learning that space. I'm not a coder or highly technical, so I lean on the expertise of a lot of these other guys and ladies in the group to tell me what a good investment is, because I a lot of times I don't know, and that's why I like partnering and really being around a lot of people that are experienced in that space.
Describe for us what an angel investor is, for the person that may not have heard that term before. Right.
Good question. So let's say you're going to start a company, right? Let's say you're going to start a company making iPhones. And you say, well, look, I have this idea. It's called an iPhone. I really don't have any money to get this started. I need $1 million to do my first production run of this iPhone, or, to hire designers to create this iPhone. So your first source of capital is obviously your own capital. And then from there, it's friends and family. They call it friends, family, and fools, people that will invest in you very, very early on because they believe in you and they know you and they like you. The kind of the next level is angel investors, which are private accredited investors, people that have a certain net worth that basically say, look, I'm willing to invest in you. And here are easy terms. Like, it's a very simple investment. The next level from that is like venture capital. Venture capitalists look to invest anywhere from 2 to 5 million, kind of in that range, maybe more. And then from there, you have the public market where you go IPO and you get listed, on the stock exchange. So angel investors are quite literally the first investment that a lot of tech companies receive their funds from, a lot of times before revenue, sometimes with a prototype or an idea, or maybe some revenue. But it's a very, very early investor into a company that, like there were angel investors in Uber, Twitter, Airbnb. Like, those are the types of companies that attract angels.
Can you brag about any of your successes as an angel investor?
I haven't had any exits,
okay.
Which the typical life span, or I guess the typical time that it takes to have a big exit to either go IPO or get bought out by a Google or something like that is about 7 years. So I've only been in the space for a couple of years. I haven't had any failures, which is great. But typically, this is a long game. It's not like whenever I day trade, I'm in and out in a couple minutes or a couple hours. This is a long game, and it's really, they say, get into angel investing if you want to just burn cash and do it for the passion. Like, it's really, you have to invest in a lot of companies with the goal of maybe one of them hitting it big, becoming an Airbnb or a Facebook or a Twitter.
I'll give you my address if you just want to burn cash. I've got this really good looking gadget that
I definitely don't want to burn cash. That's why you have to be really, really diligent. And that's why, like, as an angel investor, you really only want to put a small percentage of your net worth into angel investing because it's considered one of the riskiest investments you can make. Or on the other side of the spectrum, real estate, I feel like, is one of the most secure investments you can make.
I guess if you're, and thrill junkie is probably not the right word or phrase, but if you're that guy or gal that just likes the adrenaline rush of business, it probably satisfies that.
It does. You have to be really passionate about entrepreneurs, and you have to love the investment and believe in the investment that you're making. And a lot of times angels act as advocates and advisors to startups. They give resources, they give their time, they mentor, they make connections. So it's a very active investment role, where if you're going to say, just invest in the stock market and buy, shares of Apple or Google, that's a completely different end of the kind of investment spectrum.
Very, very interesting.
Thanks for listening. We'll be right back. Are you running out of leads? It's time you tried Yellow Letters at yellowletters.com. Get motivated seller leads through Yellow Letters, postcards, zip letters, typed professional letters, greeting cards, door hangers, and business cards. Yellow Letters is a full-service marketing company created with your success in mind. Get the personal attention you need to get your direct mail campaign started, and get in touch at yellowletters.com.
And we are back in 3, 2, 1.
Now you mentioned day trading. Are you still doing a lot of day trading?
Yeah. So my wife is a full-time equities trader. She trades stocks. That's her day job. And she loves doing that. I have kind of retired from trading full-time. I used to trade futures and stocks full-time. Now I do what's called swing trading mostly, where I'll be in a trade for a couple of days to a couple of weeks. And that's freed up 40 plus hours a week where I can, spend with my entrepreneurs and my investments, doing real estate, or traveling.
So now most people only work 40 plus hours a week. So it's freed up 40 plus hours a week.
Yeah. I mean, trading, like day trading as a business, is a full-time job. Even if you're only trading a couple hours a day, actively trading, there's a lot of research and practice and, reviewing that has to happen. So where I've stepped away from the active daily role of trading every single day, that's freed up a tremendous amount of time.
Interesting. I've often wanted to or thought about getting into trading only because I have a mathematical mind, but it just scares crap out of me. And real estate is just so easy for me. And I I don't like seeing the front door because I don't look at my front doors anymore, but I like the idea of the tangible asset.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And trading it's a skill. It's like chess or golf or poker. It's a business, but it's also a performance activity. So what I tell anybody that's like interested or thinking about day trading is you can practice and you can learn without risking a lot of money. So, the worst thing I think you could do is go into the stock market and say, I'm just going to throw money at it. Well, if you throw money at the market, professionals will take that money from you. So take time, develop your skill, and find what works for you. There's so many ways to skin a cat in the markets that you don't have to, just jump in and risk a bunch of money right away.
Well, now that you've compared it to golf, I don't think I can get into it because can I tell you my golf story?
Yeah, please.
You know how they always put the first hole next to the country club?
Yeah.
It's the most ridiculous place to put it to me, in my opinion. But here I am. Now I'm not a golfer. I'm more of the boxer type, so I like that kind of a sport. But here I go play golf with this group. I guess there's 4 of us, and it's my time to hit this little stupid looking ball off this thing in the ground. And I have this big old fat club in my hand. I have no clue. And I watched the 3 guys in front of me how they did it. So I walked up there and looked at the ball and I swung. And I couldn't see where the ball went. But I was looking. And then I looked down and the ball was still on the thing in the ground.
Whiffed it.
Boy. So I'm not going to have this happen twice. So I do my little dance, as I'm standing there getting ready to hit it again. And I swing. And sure enough, someone moved that ball on me because I didn't hit it, but there it is. It stayed there. 3rd time.
Well, we call those practice swings. You get a couple practice
Not
swings.
the way I was swinging.
You were going for it.
Huh? It was a home run swing. 3rd time. Now, at this point, my ego, I don't have one anymore. And I'm somewhat embarrassed about myself. So the 3rd time I decided, okay, I'm just going to take a half a swing. And so I take my half swing. I feel contact. I felt like, wow, I hit something. And I hit it about 15 feet. I didn't hit it up to the female tees. So
drop the pants, huh?
It was, so I don't golf, but I appreciate those people that can do what they do because to me, it's a little ball, a lot of grass. And it seems like it would be easier than it is.
I feel like it gets easier the more beers that you drink. So the further along in the game, or, you really aren't getting better. It's just becoming less painful.
No one told me that I could drink before I started. See, that would have been it. Not advocating drinking to anybody, but I've heard that people do have a good time after they do. I understand that you have been to 100 countries, which is 98 more than I have been to. Tell me about that.
So I'm really addicted to travel. I was a military brat. My dad was a pilot in the Air Force. And so I grew up in places like Korea and Iceland and New Mexico. And
New Mexico's not a country.
Yeah, you're right. I'm using that as kind of an extreme example of some place in the U.S. that people just don't go to visit. I feel like, more people would go to Florida or California over New Mexico, but just random places, right? So I had an appreciation for culture from the time I was really young, and that just kind of carried over. In 2014, my wife and I picked up and we traveled for a full year. We literally went around the world. We started in Iceland, went through Europe, Africa, India, Asia, and right back around. And we've been traveling part-time for, past 7 or 8 years now.
So you must enjoy it.
It's really, really amazing. It can be stressful. It can be scary at times, but it's worth every second that we've spent on the road.
Okay, so tell me about the scary time.
Oh, man. Well, so there was a time we were in Amsterdam and woke up to a fire raging next to our bed.
Oh.
That was pretty interesting. I was in Honduras one time, got extorted by the police, thought it was going to be one of those locked up abroad situations.
Oh, wow.
Been stranded in the Alps. There have been several occasions that I saw my life flash before my eyes.
You're making New Mexico sound really good.
Nice and easy.
Nice and easy. And you scuba dive. Is that the right word?
I love scuba diving. I'm kind of addicted to that as well. If you see a theme, there's a lot of addictions in my life.
Yeah, it's a repetitive thing. I know a really good counselor if you have any issues there. But what's that like, being under the water, or I guess under the air? And
so I was always petrified of sharks. So I went to high school in Florida, and we'd always go to the beach, and you'd hear the random, story of somebody's leg getting bit by a shark or something. I was like, okay, I don't understand why anybody would ever go underwater with a tank and a regulator in their mouth. And in 2012, I was in Puerto Rico, and we were talking to one of our friends that was a dive master, and she was like, hey, just come with me. I'll show you what it's all about. And I said, okay, this is an opportunity to break through a fear. So I did it, and I was like, wow, this is actually really beautiful and really liberating. And there aren't sharks coming trying to bite my legs. So must be kind of safe. So I got certified and just kept going with it. And then a couple months later, we were in Australia and jumped in a cage with great white sharks that were around us. And that was, again, it sounds more terrifying than it actually is. And so fast forward a few years, and we've scuba dived in, I guess, six continents now.
See, the sharks would be okay, especially if I was in a cage. I could handle that. I'm thinking the concept of not having air. Like what happened, all of a sudden I'm out of air, and I'm the only one that knows that. That'd be.
Yeah, you definitely want to keep an eye on your air levels, and that's why you dive with a buddy. So if you run out, you have somebody else. But it's actually really easy to breathe underwater. If anybody's ever, or if you've ever snorkeled, I absolutely hate snorkeling. It's so uncomfortable. It's so hard to breathe. You get water splashing everywhere. But scuba diving is actually way easier to breathe. It's almost like the regulator kind of pushes the water or pushes the air into your mouth, and it's very effortless.
I do have now see, I can tie a story to both sharks and snorkeling. So I was in Mexico. Nice. And a bunch of us foreigners took a tour, and they took us out to this whatever to snorkel and, in the reefs, and it was supposed to be really beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I look up as in the water with everybody else, and all the tour guys are in the boat. And so, first question I thought in my head is, why are you guys in the boat? And they said, because there's sharks over there. I said, so why aren't we in the boat? Oh, there's a reef. They won't swim over the reef. And I'm thinking, that's absolutely not logical to me. You're in the boat because there's sharks, but the sharks, don't like Americans or something? So yeah. I did everything I could to find the boat really fast, and everybody else did too.
Oh my goodness. Did they say what kind of sharks they were?
They were just big sharks. They were just
big sharks with fins and teeth.
Yeah, they just wanted to eat us, I'm sure. Dive master. So if you could get that title, but I'm going to call it Dive Master of Life. What do you want to teach people? What's the one thing, if you could teach someone something that you would be the most proud of and fulfill you?
So that's actually a really good question. My message, I guess, kind of the theme of my life and what I try to help everybody that I come in contact with is just not to waste time. Life is so short, and I feel like it's way too short to just to waste time doing something that you hate. So every day I wake up and I just ask this question, no matter how much money I have, imagine I have $1 billion in the bank and no responsibilities. How would I spend that day? how would I spend the next 8 to 12 hours? And I just try to spend that time doing what I would do no matter how much money I have. And for me, that's investing in things that I believe in, be it angel investments, Bitcoin, real estate, also spending time with really smart, integrity-driven entrepreneurs and investors and trying to solve big problems. And as long as I focus on that, my days seem to be really good. And I don't think there's a right path for anybody in particular. Like, there's no right answer, right? I can't tell somebody like, you should do real estate, or you should be a trader, or you should do Bitcoin. It's, what are you passionate about? And just ask that question. What would you do no matter how much money you have? And then pursue that. Do that now. Don't lean on the excuses for why you can't do it. Oh, I have a job. I don't have enough money. Like, you can find a way. I guess that would be my message.
Yeah, I think that if people want to bad enough, they will.
Mm-hmm.
And, obstacles are only there to keep people away. They're kind of like locks. So if an obstacle will keep you away from it, then that's fine. Most obstacles don't get in my way. I just figure out a way to get around them or over them or through them. Mm-hmm. And I always laugh at my wife. She goes, make sure you lock the door. And I said, well, why should we lock the door? She said, someone might break in. And I'm thinking, well, that's the whole concept of breaking in, is the lock is only going to keep the person who wouldn't break in away.
Right. If they want to get in, they're going to get in no matter what.
Right. So,
yeah.
I want to tear things down and figure out a way to do them. This has been fun. You were like, and I've interviewed a few of you guys now, and you're like all over the place with what you like to do. I could spend hours talking to you about just one of the things. It seems like a shame that we've spent 40 minutes here and didn't get as deep as I wanted to, but there were so many things to talk about.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, Michael. And if there's something maybe in the future that, your listeners want to dive deeper into, I'd be more than happy to share whatever I know about any specific topic.
Well, that's a great segue into two questions I have for you. If someone wants to communicate with you, is that appropriate? And if so, and you can say no, by the way, no is a good, okay answer. But if the answer is yes, don't mind talking to people, how do they get a hold of you?
Yes, absolutely. And they can go to chrisdunn.com. I'm also really active on Twitter. My handle on social media everywhere is Chris Dunn TV. Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. I'm an open book, and I try to be as accessible as possible and answer all the emails that come in. So, yeah, if there's anything I can do to help anybody, please reach out.
Well, you have to be an open book because, an ice cream cone.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's, some things you shouldn't share. That's probably maybe one of them, but I don't know.
I am so proud of that. That's my, from ice cream cone to great white sharks. That's it, man. That's my journey.
There's a bucket list full of stuff there. Well, one of the questions I always ask, or the question I always ask at the end, is what I didn't ask that you wanted to share with us.
Ooh, now you're opening a can of worms.
That's okay.
What didn't you ask? Well, oh my goodness. I mean, I feel like the questions that I get a lot of are, like prediction type stuff, like where's the market headed? And my answer is usually I have no idea. So I'm kind of glad you didn't ask that one because
try not to make you look bad. That's what it is.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, I'm not an economist and I don't play one on the internet. I'm a short-term trader. I'm an investor. And I stick to what I do, but I don't know, man, that's kind of a hard question to answer. Like, what did you not ask? I have no clue.
Well, if I ever get in the mood to try to breathe underwater for long periods of time in a cage, I am absolutely going to call you.
Please do. Send me a picture.
Oh, okay. How do you take a picture of yourself? Can you do the selfie underwater?
Oh, yeah. Get a GoPro with a little selfie stick.
Oh, wow.
I have plenty of videos doing that. Yeah.
I've got to see one now. Thank you, sir. It's been fun.
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate it.
You have a good day. Talk to you soon.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Okay. That was fun. But I am not going to get in the water. I am not going to get in a cage. And you certainly will not see a selfie of me in the water in a cage with a scuba suit on. But Chris was fascinating. think about this. 16 years old, went into mortgage business, went into the investment business, the Bitcoin business, the investing business from the stock trade arena. And he's been to 100 countries. And I think he said he was in high school in 2001, which makes me seem like I'm really, really old now, because I wasn't in high school in 2001. I drove by a high school at 2001, I'm sure, but not in it. Gosh, I feel really old. That was 22 years after I graduated. And yes, I did graduate high school. But that was an interesting call. I'm going to have him back on and just talk about one subject. So you guys tell me which one of the 4 or 5 that we chatted about you want to know more about, and we'll get him back on the phone and talk about that one exclusively. Until next time, you guys take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show. Get more info and stay in touch at michaelquarles.com.